Fight me!
Hey everybody, so welcome to Real Quick, where I talk about a movie just real quick, off the cuff, no script, mostly ad-libbed, probably a lot of and in there. So today we're going to talk about Moana, which I just saw last night. Moana is basically like a buddy movie between this girl named Moana and a demigod named Maui. They're going together to try to just restore balance in their world. I'm not going to get too much into spoilers because I don't want to really talk about the plot that much. And also, like, I just kind of don't want to have to, like, read through everything. Wikipedia is there for a reason, so you can just look it up there. I'm just going to be talking about what I thought of it, how I liked it, if I recommend you watching it. So, Moana starts off really great. And, like, you've probably already heard this or seen this, that it's gorgeous, and it is so gorgeous, especially the first act, when she's still on her island. It is beautiful. The colors, the way the trees are animated, the way the water, especially the water, is so gorgeous. Like, oh my god, like I wanted to swim in it. I just wanted to like swim and relax. It was so clean and so pretty. And the first act really was amazing. Like, if you didn't know already, it's a musical. And the first act, there's 2 songs or 1 song. I don't remember if they were like the same song but just different parts of it, or if it was 2 different songs. But during the first act, there is, I'm gonna say 2 songs, and those songs are great. I loved that song. I felt like it's not quite as strong as Let It Go, but Let It Go is also kind of, it was great, but it was also kind of generic in a way. I feel like that's one of the reasons why it was so popular. But I don't think anything on the soundtrack is quite as hard hitting as anything on Frozen was, and there's a lot of like quote unquote competition between the 2 movies. But I thought the songs at the beginning were great. During the first act, and the first act is basically she lives on an island. It's kind of remote in a way. Like, they're not allowed to like travel off of the island. They're not allowed to go past a certain, I think like a certain reef or something like that. And so like no one on the island is permitted to leave the island or the reef. They're only allowed to leave the island to get some fish, and you can only get fish to a certain point past the island. But she has like this calling to go to this water that she doesn't understand. And she has like this connection to the ocean that she doesn't understand, that she's had since she was a child. And it's I remember when I was at the theaters with 2 of my friends, I leaned over and I was like, this is a reverse Little Mermaid. And it really is in a lot of ways. It's like that in a lot of ways. I don't want to get too much of the details. Like, there's nothing really spoilery about it, but there were points where I was like, I'm not sure if they were going for like a tribute to old Disney, or if they were just really trying to recreate that feeling of old Disney. But there's a point where I was just like, this seems like it's kind of too much of those tropes from like old Disney movies of like, you can't go there, that's where the bad stuff happens, and I want to go there, I want to have an adventure. And it's just, it felt a little bit much in the first act, but I was so in love with the setting and the water and just the animation, and the characters are really fun. I like I like how I turned it down from love to like, but I really like Moana. I love her grandma. Oh my god, her grandma's the character who's like, she's like the village crazy person, and she's like so sweet and just so fun, and she has like that attitude of like, oh, you don't have to like listen to your dad, just listen to me. I'm the cool one. I'm not a regular grandma. I'm a cool grandma. But yeah, no, it's great. It's great for the first act. And then, plot happens and she has to like go past the reef because obviously. And then I kind of feel like the movie took like a nosedive down. Not to like being a bad movie, but it was like, it went from being a really good movie to a really okay movie to me after that. It was bearable. We meet Maui, and he has a song that I thought was kind of on par with In Summer, in like, we don't really need this. It is catchy, and like thinking about it now, I like it a little bit, but it is kind of like, we don't need this. You could have had a better song. There's not a lot of songs I remember. I remember like 5 songs in this whole movie. I remember the first 2 from the first act. I remember Maui's song. There's another song. I think it's like, if I remember correctly, it was like when her, like, show her ancestors. If I remember correctly, they showed her ancestors, and like, or they showed people. No, I'm sorry. There's not her ancestors. They just showed people like sailing the seas and stuff, and they have a song there that I thought was really cool. It's not in English, but it's still really cool. I liked it. And then there's and then there's a song in not to get into spoilers, but there's a song involving a crab. If you've seen the movie, you know what I'm talking about. That was kind of the part when the movie lost me a little bit, because I felt I did not like the character. I did not like the song. I just felt like it was just meandering, and there is so much comic relief in this movie. Like, there's an unnecessary amount of comic relief. Like, I kind of understand that if there was like something kind of dark to, like, if there's like a really dark undertone of the movie that you needed that kind of comic relief, like it's so dark that you need someone to kind of make you laugh more. But like, I mean, it's like, the plot is serious. Like, she needs to basically save the world from like falling into darkness, but it's never like scary or creepy or something that needs like 3 comic relief characters, because Maui's a comic relief character. There's like this chicken that goes on board with them, who's a comic relief character. The crab in the scene is kind of comic relief, and I'm just like, you don't need that many. Like, I remember people complaining about Kobu with how the beetle was comic relief, but I mean, in their defense, it was just one character who was comic relief and everyone else was serious. Like, in this movie, it's like there's so many people, and Moana is like goofy and quirky, which, Disney, I love you, but listen, like, I know that you're trying to be like more feminist and more inclusive, and I genuinely appreciate it, but quirky is not the only other personality type a girl can have, because you did this with Anna and you did this with Moana, and Moana's really cool. I like her, but she's just like, me personally, and I need to rewatch it probably, and maybe if I rewatch it, I'll change my opinion, but I never really got this sense of like why she would be that kind of character. I guess like maybe because of her grandma, but she's just like all like, oh, whoa, that's weird. Like, she's just like kind of too random in a way. I don't know. It's weird. I just felt like the personalities in this movie weren't really fleshed out very well. There's kind of a lot of show don't tell happening. I mean, like I said, not to get too much into the spoilers, but just so I don't really like talk about the ending. But like, they have the goddamn scene of like, and I saw this coming a mile away. I was like, oh, they're gonna get mad at each other and then they're gonna get back together and be friends again. Obviously that happens because every movie has to have that. Every kid's movie has to have that. And I'm just like, why? Why does this have to happen? And it's over the stupidest thing. Why does every kid's movie insist on having the scene of, yeah, well, we're not friends anymore. Yeah, well, I don't want to be your friend anymore. Then they stop talking. Then they come back later. It's like, of course I love you. And it's just, And like, I'm sorry if that's a spoiler if like you're in the movie and you're just like, now I know they're gonna get back together. Like, I'm sorry, but if you've seen a kid's movie in the last forever, then you know it's gonna happen. It's not a bad movie, but I really felt like it dipped really hard after the first act. Like, right after the first act, when she sails off into adventure, the movie fucking drops to me. It went from like maybe like a B plus, A minus to like a C. I think the last scene was actually really, really great. Like the very last scene, I really, really liked. Um, obviously I'm not gonna say what happens in it. It's not like crazy or anything, but like it made me have a good feeling as I left the theater when I saw the last scene. Um, and it is something I would. Oh my god. It's something I would buy, but it's something that before I would buy the DVD or Blu-ray, I would absolutely buy the art book for this movie. Holy shit. I want to see like the character does like despite everything, the character design for this movie was fantastic. I love Maui's design. I love Moana's design. I love all the designs for the animals, the different creatures that we see during the movie. I loved all of that. The water and backgrounds especially. Like I want to see the details for that stuff. I want to see the planning process for that because that was so gorgeous. Like it is a beautiful movie. Like it's like despite everything else, just aesthetically, I would say like it's kind of worth the like even if you're like me and you think the plot was kind of okay, I think just for like the colors alone, especially if you're like an animator or someone like into animation, I think just for like the aesthetic alone, it's worth it. I will say though, when it comes to the when it comes to the aesthetic and like the colors and the backgrounds and stuff like that, a lot of the movie takes place at sea. Which you think like, and you see, like I said, like during the first act, it's all gorgeous, but like during the second act and third act, like it gets like the water gets like murky and like gets like cloudy and stuff like that and dark, and a lot of the beauty kind of gets zapped away. And I'm sure like that was like I'm pretty sure that was done on purpose to be like, oh well, now she's in deep shit. Yeah, let's see how dark and ominous it is. But it's also like a big appeal of this movie was how gorgeous the water looked and how gorgeous the backgrounds looked. And about 2/3 of the movie, there's no backgrounds and the water's like dark and just flat. Like, and it's hard for me to take it like, oh, well, maybe it's like not so much about the background, maybe it's more character driven, but the characters are kind of cardboard. Like, this isn't like offensively bad, but I feel like the biggest risk in this movie was the fact that it's like an entire people of color cast, which by the way, I'm really happy that that Disney is like pushing for more diversity. I'm super happy with that. I'm really happy with Disney like kind of like parodying itself in a way. Like there's a talk about princesses in this movie. That's actually really funny. Like there's really like a jab at the way Disney handles princesses that I thought was like really funny, and I won't give it away. Like once you hear it, I think it'll make you laugh because it actually made me laugh really hard when I heard it. But yeah, like I feel like the biggest risk this movie took was having like all these people of color, and I feel like I almost got the vibe that was like, all right, well, if we're already doing that, we can't like go past. Like we're already having like a big enough risk having it all people of color in the cast, so we can't like take too many risks with the plot or with the story or with the characters. And maybe it's just me reading into it, but that's just how I saw it in a way. And I felt like you could have done something different. You didn't have to have all these comic relief characters. You didn't have to have like every scene having a joke. You didn't have to have it like that. You could have taken a few more risks. You could have made it a little darker. You could have made it a little more adult. And I think it would have been a much better movie because like I feel the plot to me is awesome. I like it. I feel like it's an adventure movie. It's they just go on an adventure and they do a thing. I won't talk about it, but they do a thing for their adventure, and like it's a good plot. It's a good story. I love the story. I just feel like the execution could have been better. That's all I'm saying. I thought the first act was amazing, great colors, I liked the characters. I liked where it was going. Kind of felt like as soon as the second act started and she went off to sea, lost a lot of that for me. It lost a lot of the fun of the background. It lost more of its seriousness. And it just kind of became a kids movie. Not that anything's wrong with a kids movie, but like, you know what I mean, where it's like, we're not gonna really worry too much about certain things because it's a kids movie. We're not gonna have it to be too serious or too scary or too dark because it's a kids movie. We're not gonna take a lot of risks because it's a kids movie. And I feel like Disney can do better than that. Like, they're a big enough company where they can take bigger risks. I'm glad they took the risk of having an all people of color cast. They did that risk with Mulan too, and that was a better movie. I'm just saying. So it could have been done better, but I would say still see it, if for no other reason, to support it, to support having more people of color in movies, and because I do still think there is good stuff in it, especially if you're someone who's into animation, especially if you're someone who's into like backgrounds. Like, this is gorgeous most of the time. Like, I would say the only other Disney movie that really, Disney or Pixar movie that really had these really beautiful backgrounds was The Good Dinosaur, but that movie was shit. So this movie isn't shit. Like, I don't do ratings or anything, but I mean, like, if I were to give it a rating, I'd probably give it like C+. Good Dinosaur to me is like a D-, maybe an F. I hated that fucking movie. I'm gonna do a video about Good Dinosaur, because like, actually I have a funny story about that one, where it's like, me and my friend went to see it, and like, as soon as it was done, we were like, it was okay. And then like, on our the drive back home to my house to drop me off, we like went from saying like, it was okay, and like, the more we talked about it, like, by the time we got home, we were like, that movie fucking sucked, fuck that movie. Like, the more we thought about it, the more we hated it. So yeah, fuck that movie. But this movie did not make me angry. I would say it's an okay movie, especially if you have kids. I would definitely say watch it with them. Like, we went to a theater with like a house. It was packed with kids. The theater was packed with kids, and they were all quiet. They were all attentive. They were all like watching it. They weren't bored or screaming. They all seemed to like it. So like, if you're a parent who wants to have like a good time with your kids, and I'm talking like, there's like 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, and they were sitting there quietly watching the movie. Like, generally, I don't think anyone was like bored or like annoyed with it. I think kids are actually really gonna like it. And there's stuff in it for adults too. There's jokes in it that adults will get. There's a fucking Twitter joke that I felt was unnecessary. But you know what? Like I said, it's not a terrible movie, but I would say give it a shot. I would say give it a shot, see if you liked it, because I seem to be in the minority of people who didn't think it was like fantastic. Most people thought it was really great, so you might like it. I'm kind of anal when it comes to movies anyway, and I'm not an expert or anything when it comes to story structure, but I've studied enough about story structure to kind of be like, to kind of spot it and kind of get annoyed when I see the same things happening over and over again. So, I mean, that's just me personally. Like I said, I'm kind of anal when it comes to movies. So, take what I say with a grain of salt. If you feel like this is the kind of movie that you would like, I would say definitely check it out. If you're someone who's a parent who wants to have like a good time with your kids, definitely check it out. I think the kids will especially love this movie. And that's it. This is really quick, and I hope you enjoyed. I'm like I'm pushing 20 minutes because it was really quick. But yeah, I would say probably check it out. Look into it a little bit if you're a little on the edge. If you're someone who's like really picky about movies, possibly skip it, maybe check it out. I don't know. I'm not your dad. Do what you like. Have a great day. I'll see you later.